Hi guys, welcome back to my channel and welcome back to another day in my life. So today I'm bringing you guys along as I just get stuff done. I finally placed my very first Azure standard grocery haul. I did a bunch of random things around the house, cleaned up a bit. I also made another batch of bagels, which I'm getting really good at. I'm also sharing what we made for dinner on this night when we were kind of crunched for time. It ended up being delicious. And then last but definitely not least, so many of you guys have asked me to share my current supplement routine, so I am going to do that for you guys today. And then before we hop right in, I have to give a special shout out to all of my patrons. I upload exclusive content to Patreon, and as of lately, I've actually been uploading a Patreon video every time I've been uploading a YouTube video. I recently talked about me and Dan's time spent living in Singapore. Last week, I did a Patreon exclusive Q&A and covered things like judgment around homeschooling and seasons of suffering in life. I will leave my link down below in the info box. And with all of that being said, let's hop right in. So you guys don't even know, I spent the last 2.5 years debating if and when and how I was going to pick up an order from Azure Standard one day. And so on this day, I finally did it. The drop zone wasn't very far from our house, and the whole thing, while it was a little bit overwhelming, like picking up from a semi truck, just like everyone else had said, it was actually way less overwhelming than I expected. And everyone was super friendly, so that was really cool too. Now, they were out of a bunch of things that I ordered, but I did get some of the main things I ordered, including my hard white wheat berries. I've been trying to get a hold of hard white wheat for months now, so this was probably the thing that I was the most excited to be picking up. I also picked up some organic white quinoa because I want to experiment with some quinoa bowls here soon in the future. I also picked up some dried organic garbanzo beans, which, by the way, I totally have made hummus since I got this, and I finally nailed homemade hummus, and I'm excited to share soon in the future. I also picked up some dried black beans. You can probably see a theme here. I'm picking up more dried goods. I want to learn in general how to cook with more dried food. So then I picked up some organic red lentils. So yeah, I'm excited to share all the different recipes I do in the future with these different food items. By the way, Logan was totally playing with Rummy Cube on this morning, which totally feels like a homeschool thing. He was having so much fun pairing together numbers and shouting them out, and it was really sweet. Homeschooling is everywhere, guys. So this is random, but I knew I wanted to do a little bit of cleaning and organizing, and so I decided to put on some beauty products at first. So I started off by putting some of this Mainstay Advanced Hair Growth Solutions from Healthy Hair Forever on my scalp, and then while that was drying, I applied this Glow Anti-Aging Skin Perfecting Mask from Healthy Hair Forever as well. I did end up needing to spray my face with rose in order to get the mask on because the mask is a little bit thicker and I needed a little bit of moisture on my skin in order to apply it evenly. I mentioned to you guys that I recently got the whole skincare line from this company, and I'm loving all of the products. This mask feels amazing. I feel like my skin always looks amazing when I take it off. I believe it has honey and turmeric in it, and it feels amazing. So once I had applied that onto my face, it was time to make the bed. And I've mentioned this before. I think me making the bed is one of Logan's favorite parts of the morning, and doing laundry. He just loves going in and seeing me pull back the sheets, and then, when I do make the bed, spreading everything over. But yeah, so we hung out and put away all of the laundry and let the bed air out while I was doing the laundry. And then after that, I decided to just make my bed right away. Then I knew I needed to do a little bit of sweeping around the bedroom, so I did just that. Now at this point, my bagel dough had been fermenting in the bowl for 16 hours maybe. So I pulled out my dough and divided it into 8 pieces because this recipe makes 8 bagels. By the way, if you want to know how to make your very own sourdough bagels, if I didn't mention that, these are sourdough bagels, I will link my video down below. I recently made a video sharing this whole recipe and really going step by step. And guys, I have a new update. everything has been my favorite flavor, like everything bagels. And now all of a sudden I've like made a switch, and I think I like the bagels best just plain. Like I literally love them so much plain, and I like to cook them a little longer now. So getting the skin really golden, I'm finding I really enjoy lately, and that was at Dan's request, and I do prefer it that way. So Logan, by the way, as I make sourdough bagels, he's always watching, and I swear he's like counting down the day to when he can finally make bagels. I always tell him he's almost there. We're just not quite there. Now I had picked up some decaf ginger peach iced tea from Tear Coffee here in Coeur d'Alene on this day. And I don't go out as often for drinks at all as I used to, so this was a very exciting day. And the way that the backyard looked, I thought was just so beautiful with the sun shining through the flowers and the greenery. And so that's why you're seeing the shots that you're seeing. And then at this point, I had actually showered and my hair was up in like my microfiber towel, and I decided to do a little bit of walking backwards. So go ahead, laugh it up at me as I look ridiculous walking backwards. I ended up having to put my Crocs on. I wanted to do it outside, but I kept stepping on pine needles, so. All right, so on this night, I knew I wanted a quick dinner, and we were out of a lot of things. So I started off by sauteing some mushrooms and onions in a little bit of butter, and then at the end, I ended up adding in some balsamic vinegar and let that reduce a little bit just to give it a little bit of a different flavor. And I just love adding balsamic vinegar in everything. And then on this night, I used this Banza pasta, which is made from chickpeas and a couple other things that I don't necessarily love, but I find that this pasta is a nice change up when I feel like I've just been eating like tons of wheat. I don't know. I like to change things up. And then this pasta sauce I had picked up that day from Costco. And once again, this was like a let's mix it up type situation. We had never tried this brand and we were just wanting to try something a little different. We wanted to make this a beef sauce. So we used this organic ground beef that we buy from Costco. And yeah. I didn't get any more footage because I literally forgot and dinner time was crazy on this night, but that was the pasta sauce on the pasta with a little bit of fresh grated Parmesan cheese. And then I also had thrown in the oven some asparagus roasted in a little bit of truffle oil, garlic powder, and salt. And it was chef's kiss. So good. Hey guys, so I'm bebopping back into this video. That's like my new phrase now for jumping in these videos, which I totally realize I don't actually need a phrase. I could just casually step in the video and not attach a phrase to it, but it is what it is. So today I wanted to talk to you guys about supplementation. I have been getting a lot of requests from people to talk about just what kind of supplements I'm taking. You guys know I've been a big fan of vitamins for the whole time I've been on YouTube. I really was raised in a household that believed in supplementation early on. My mom has really been walking this more holistic path now for my whole life since I was a little girl. My mom's background is not really in like holistic health. Her family background, like they're not really into all of that. And so she really kind of created a new path for our family in pursuing more holistic health and nutrition. And she had her own reasons for doing that, different health factors and things that had popped up within her family that she really wanted to avoid, and felt like in order to avoid that, she had to take a different path. So I have gotten a front row seat at watching my mom go through this journey and go down this path of, like I said, nutrition and holistic health and trying different things. And she's always been very open to new ideas in regards to like health and medical treatments. Now, you guys know I'm also from Los Angeles. I'm a native to LA, and LA has a ton of like holistic practitioners, and I feel like I went to all of them. Not really, but I did go to quite a few, and I have definitely been through different kinds of health phases, I guess you could say, over the years. I've been on different kinds of diets. I've done different kinds of supplement routines. I've done different kinds of cleanses, and for different reasons. Kind of the primary things and the primary reasons I was seeing someone for health stuff growing up. These are kind of the basic reasons. First off, I actually didn't get my period till I was 18 years old. It was like a week before my 18th birthday. So that's one of the reasons. But I had been going prior to that because I started getting like cystic severe acne. You guys know, if you've been following me on YouTube for a while now, that I, even in my early days of YouTube, had severe cystic acne. Now, side note, that's not a side note, I hardly ever break out, and I'm so grateful for that. And I think that there's a few different reasons that is that way now, including the fact that my lifestyle has kind of radically changed over the last couple of years. I feel like my entire time, honestly, on YouTube, like I've had a pretty good relationship with food, meaning I used to not have the greatest relationship with food back in like my late teen years when I was still dancing, performing and all of that. I definitely had disordered eating, and I've talked about that a little bit here on my YouTube channel, but thank God I processed through that. And for real, I feel like I've never really struggled with it since then. And I think it was by the grace of God, and because it was such a dark period of time for me, and I saw that like my obsessive nature towards food was not getting me the results I want. And when I really came face to face with that, at like my lowest point in my eating disorder, I ended up having this kind of radical transformation shortly after, where I really started thinking, you know what? I want to just focus on being healthy. Like, I just want to thrive and care for my body, and especially in recent years, side note, I just want to be strong. But that was really where my head shifted towards. And so pretty much my entire time on YouTube, even though my diet has definitely changed, especially within the last couple of years, and even my supplements routine, I feel like I've had a really pretty good relationship with food. It's not something that's really had like a control over me. Thank you, Lord, because I know what that's like I said. Now, here's the thing. Sharing my supplement routine today makes me a little bit nervous because my opinions about supplements have kind of changed over the last couple of years. Really in the last year, a lot more, or I've had a lot more of like a question mark kind of vibe towards them. So I have just been nervous to share because I don't really know what I think about certain things. And I'll explain as I go. And some of these things have kind of been experiments, particularly within the last couple of months. Once I miscarried, you guys know, I went straight back onto basically just my whole supplement routine. Now, not all of the supplements that I was taking before, because basically, if you haven't heard this whole kind of situation, when Dan and I had everything go down last year with Bowser and the chaos that ensued after that, and we ended up moving kind of because of that much quicker, not kind of, because of that, much quicker than we had originally planned on moving. And everything felt like went out the window. The way I was eating, like my diet went out the window, and almost, not more importantly, but just interesting, my supplementation went completely out the window. And I've talked about this a little bit. It was partially because life was so chaotic, kind of everything went out the window. Like the way that I lived my life, especially those first 6 months after everything unfolded last year, is unlike the way I've like lived any of my adult life ever, because I really shut down and it was definitely like an emergency mode situation where I was kind of in survival. But then also hand in hand with that, I've mentioned this before, stumbled across this whole pro-metabolic community that's really made me have some different questions about supplementation. Here's the thing, people have been yelling this general sentiment at me for years, which is you don't need to take supplements if you're eating a healthy diet. So that is not a new idea to me. But I think the thing is, before I was operating more from this space of, well, the soil has been completely depleted and kind of ruined over the last 100 years with industrial, agriculture. So I just thought, okay, well, I don't even think I'm getting enough nutrients in my diet, even when I'm trying. And I still kind of feel that way. We'll talk about this. But so that was also part of it. So people have been yelling that at me for years, and I've just kind of been like, whatever. So I just wanted to say that because this isn't a new idea, but the way in which the people within the pro-metabolic community presented that same idea to me, but also through the lens of like a more specific animal product focused diet, really like changed my thinking and made me be like, okay, maybe there's something to this. And yes, I have been open the whole time to the idea that maybe my body is not going to synthesize, if that's the word, or utilize the supplements that I'm taking as well from like a pill form as it would from a whole food source. And I've always been an advocate of trying to get your supplements from a whole food source versus a synthetic lab, like chemical type situation. By the way, the sun, there's a lot of clouds out, so it's going to possibly get dark, bright. Anyways, so I stopped taking supplements last year for kind of both of those reasons. And I don't know, I mean, I feel like this is kind of just like confirmation bias, right? Like when you're going through something in life and you want to believe something and it just kind of fits with your life. Well, I was not living the life where I felt like I wanted to or really could be taking supplements for a lot of different reasons at the time. And so when I started to hear this information, I was like, sure, that I'm not taking supplements right now. Like that fits right in with the way that I'm living at this moment. And so that's the situation. But fast forwarding, you guys know, like I said, once I miscarried, I just had this like switch in my head where I was like, no, like I'm going back to living the way I was before, which as much as I could, my life is still not the way it was before. Meaning like when I conceived with Logan, when I conceived Logan, my life was still very different than it is now, but my life has gotten much closer to that kind of life. And really not so much about comparing it to that life, the life I had before, but more just saying my life has stabilized a lot more in the last couple of months. And part of that has been my diet and my nutrition. And it has made such a big difference. Guys, I can't even tell you how many people I have said this to in real life, that the way that I have felt in the last like 3 months is, honest to God, probably the best I felt in years. Like definitely since before I was pregnant with Logan, because once I got pregnant with Logan, you guys know I was like terribly sick during my entire pregnancy with him. And so that was really hard to be sick the whole time. And I don't necessarily think that that's normal or good. Like it's doable and it's obviously common in pregnancy. But that's the other thing, is these pro-metabolic people have kind of convinced me to thinking like, I don't know that that's like how it's supposed to be. That might be an indicator of something being off. Which, side note, if God blesses us with another child, it's going to be interesting to see what my pregnancy is like this next time around, because I'm doing things even differently than I did last time. So I'm back to supplementing. I'm back to eating what I would consider to be clean. And actually, in some ways, I feel like I'm eating even more clean than I was before. And some of my supplements are different. So that was like the world's longest little preface. But I just wanted to say all of that, and I'm probably going to have a lot to say as I go through all of these different supplements as well. So I have a bunch of stuff behind me that I'm just going to reach and grab, but I want to take a sip of my tea first. By the way, so many of you guys have been asking me how I make my iced tea, or like if I have a video to link it to. And I feel like making a video on how I make my iced tea would like get extremely low views, similar to my recent sourdough videos, but at the same time, it would be nice to reference to it. Like now I can officially reference to all of my sourdough videos. So I'll either make a separate video about it soon. It's super simple, or I'll make it in a day in my life video, but yeah, I do like a little iced tea here and there. Okay, so we're gonna start with probably one of the supplements that I was the most like convinced that I had to get right back on after I miscarried, and that is methylated folate. Now, one other thing I want to just say to you guys, because I've gotten some good suggestions from you guys in terms of supplements. So some of these brands that I'm going to share, I'm a little bit like on the fence about in the first place. Some of them I'm super excited and confident in, but I'm always open to brand recommendations or just different thoughts and ideas that you guys have as well, because that's the other thing. Even though I've been exposed to so much holistic nutrition and vitamins and just all of like alternative therapies for like a large chunk of my life, it's been a really long time, like spread over a long period of time. So you like forget things and then you visit back and you're like, oh yeah. And B, in some ways, my brain has like, I've become a little more dumb since I've become a mom, meaning I just think mom brain is a thing. I think that being stretched, just like mentally in your day to day and even physically, like going through birth and all of that, I've just noticed there's a lot of things I've almost had to relearn in life and be reminded of because I've just like completely forgotten in my mom brain life. It's like some people have told me things recently and they're like, you didn't know that? Like, I would have assumed you would know that. And I'm like, I probably did know that before, but I completely forgot. So open to suggestions. Anyways, back to this methylated folate. Now, I've mentioned this before. Methylated folate is the activated form of folate. It's methylated. And people have known for a long time that pregnant women, or women trying to conceive should take folate, which is a B vitamin. But basically, I was told like maybe a decade ago, early YouTube time, I want to say, I get timelines confused, that I had a gene mutation called an MTHFR. I always thought it was MTFHR, but I'm pretty sure it's MTHFR. And basically it means that my body supposedly does not have the ability to methylate folate. Now, I've mentioned this before as well. Within the pro-metabolic community, that's really debated as to whether that's even really a thing and whether it can be handled through diet, which was also part of my like debate and why I stopped taking it last year. But I've been taking methylated folate the entire time since this doctor all those years ago told me, you have this MTHFR gene mutation. And what she said to me in that same breath was, wow, I'm really glad that we found this for you, because if we hadn't, you would essentially be doomed to miscarriages. And I thought like after I had miscarried and I like flashed back to this conversation with the doctor, it was a real like, whoa, that's ironic. And what also is ironic is I have a friend who had 4 miscarriages, and after miscarrying 4 times, she was diagnosed with the MTHFR gene mutation, put on methylated folate, and then she was able to conceive and carry all the way through. And now she actually has 4 kids. So this is something that can really be a thing, apparently. I mean, I think, right? So methylated folate, and this is from the brand One Elevated. They had good reviews on Amazon. And this is the one I had been taking, I think, for a while. I think I've also taken the Thorn one. But yeah, this is one of my top ones. And I actually ran out for a few days this last week. So I wasn't taking it for like maybe 5 or 6 days. And once I got it in and I started taking it again, I'm not kidding you, within like 24 hours, I immediately noticed a difference in my energy. Kind of crazy. Now, I don't know if it's just this. I actually think there's a chance that everything's just kind of working together holistically, right? And holding hands. But I think this is definitely part of this, because once I had re-implemented this, and I was also out, so at the same time that I was out of this, I was also out of this next supplement I'm going to share, which was falling out of the box, called shilajit. And I got them both the same day and then re-implemented them. And I just instantly noticed a change to my energy again, like kind of crazy. I feel like in general, ever since I started this whole regimen I'm about to share with you, since I miscarried, like once I had recovered from the miscarriage, I feel like I just have so much energy. Like I wake up in the morning with so much like pep in my step, and like I'm amped for the day and like what I gotta do. Now, granted, I will say there is part of me that wondered like, well, the last 2.5 years have been insane. Like getting pregnant, being pregnant for the first time, being sick the entire time, giving birth, being a new mom right at the beginning of COVID, going into lockdowns. And then our church got hit by a tornado, and then all this it was a crazy year. And then obviously everything that unfolded last year. So there has been part of me that's like, maybe your life's just not so crazy anymore and you're just amped on that. That could be part of it. But I also just genuinely, like, I'm telling you, I feel good. So it's exciting. So shilajit. Shilajit, to those of you who don't know, which fun story, when I first started listening to the pro-metabolic space community, listening to people talk, and they would talk about shilajit, I was so confused because I straight up thought they were saying shilajit, like the brownie brittle, the famous brownie brittle that's sold at Costco. And I was like, shilajit, that can't be what they're talking about. But I'm obsessed with, or I used to be obsessed with shilajit. It took me a long time to figure out they were saying shilajit. So, and then it's one word. Basically, it's like a mineral supplement, if I understand it right. Anyone feel free to explain in more detail down below, but I think it's basically a resin from like minerals and stuff that have kind of coagulated together like under rocks in the Himalayan mountains. That's really random, but I think that's the gist of what it is. And it's like a really great concoction of minerals. And apparently a lot of people are really like wonky with their minerals in general and maybe have like low mineral storage. So I take 1 shilajit drop per day. By the way, I'm realizing I don't think I ever circled back on the thought of when I first started seeing a homeopathic doctor. And I mentioned it was because of severe cystic acne I was having and because I had not started my period when I was almost 18 years old. And so I was actually put on natural progesterone to kick my period into gear. And it totally worked. It kicked my period into gear. So the reason I thought about that is because I've also been using like natural progesterone in small amounts as well recently. And this one is from Young Living and it's a product called Progesterone Plus. But I had also been using another progesterone cream that I had picked up just from a local health food store for a little while after I miscarried. But this is the one that I'm currently using. And someone actually asked me recently if I'd had my tests run that I wanted to have run. And I have not had my tests run, but I did finally get the information that I needed to get from a friend to move forward on that. So I'm hoping I can make that happen here soonish in life because I would just like to see kind of where my hormone levels are at, where my mineral supplies are at, because you can do like a hair, skin, tissue, I don't remember what it's called, mineral analysis. But yes, I do progesterone as well now. And I pretty much do it every day, a couple of drops, and I'll alternate between like the inside of my thighs, my belly. Those are kind of the main places I put it. So I was just thinking about that, talking about when I first started seeing a holistic doctor. Anyways, so another thing that I take are probiotics. And this probiotic from Dr. Ohhira, I have been taking for years. And I really like it. And I don't remember what makes this stuff supposedly so special. I do know that it's shelf stable, which is kind of rare for probiotics, and that it's like a 3-year fermentation process. Now, granted, there is a little bit of safflower oil in here under the other ingredients, and I don't love that. But I feel like the ingredients in general are really great on these probiotics. And in general, I've loved them for years. So I'm back on taking these. I will take 1 on an empty stomach, which as we're saying this, I'm like, I haven't taken my probiotic on an empty stomach yet today. So I think I'm actually going to take that right now. So yeah, probiotics. I'm a big believer in probiotics. They call your gut your second brain. And yeah, so I am back on my probiotics as well. And like I said, those are the same ones that I've been taking now for like years and years. I believe that this was developed by a doctor in Japan, if I remember right. Like I said, yeah, product of Japan. If you go on YouTube and you look this up, you can find videos where they like explain the fermentation process and they give the pitch as to why like their brand is so special. And maybe I'd feel differently now, but I remember when I like saw the whole thing, I was like, ooh, this is cool. So I like it. So the next thing, and this is kind of a big deal. Now I only have 1 bottle to show you, and this is the Ancestral Supplements collagen vitamins or capsules. And these, like it says, it's just a collagen supplement. Now, I wish I had my second bottle, but I'm actually all out now. And I've been taking, because it's kind of like back ordered. I don't even think I'm going to be getting the beef liver supplements, which that's what it is, beef liver, for like another week and a half, because I think it's like catching like wildfire. Like everybody's realizing that these supplements are amazing and make them feel amazing, because for the first time since I've been ordering them, they're like backed up. But I would have a second bottle from the same brand, but it's in the mail, it's on its way. And side note, what I've been taking since I've been out of the capsules, I've actually been taking raw beef liver. Basically, we bought it and we chopped it up into tiny little like vitamin size cubes. And then we froze them on a like baking sheet so they wouldn't stick together. And then once they were frozen, we pulled them off the baking sheet and then put them in a container that's in the freezer. So we've been taking straight up raw beef liver, but I don't really know how I feel about that for a lot of different reasons, including I was just messaging with a friend the other day here who actually might be a T-Talk interviewee, is that the way to put it, soon in life. And she was like, yeah, the gross thing about the liver that you buy from the store is you don't get a lot of information. So you don't even know if it's like a grass-fed, healthy, free-range type cow, or if it's just like a factory-farmed cow. Chances are it's probably the latter. So I am excited to go back to the actual desiccated beef liver capsules because I really think that's been a part of making me feel so amazing these last couple of months as well. And then, yeah, I also ended up ordering their collagen simply because the beef liver supplements were making me feel so good. And I actually don't currently have like a collagen powder supplement that I'm taking. Like I know a lot of people put them in their coffees or their smoothies, and I've done that a lot in the past. I just don't currently have one. And so I was like, okay, I think I'll just get the pills and I'll take them in a pill form as of now. So this is the other thing I've been taking, and kind of gross to talk through, but it is what it is. Basically, this is a combination. It says New Zealand grass-fed cartilage bovine, trachea collagen, scapula collagen, bioactive growth factors, and chondroitin sulfates. And it's in a gelatin capsule. So yeah, I will say something too. I have been getting like stronger and stronger within the last like year and a half. Basically, after I delivered Logan, if you guys have been watching my videos for a while, I started seeing a doctor, a guy named Dr. Mark in Nashville at East Nashville Chiropractic. And he really helped me turn a corner. I started using a machine through him that I still have and use, but haven't used in a moment, called an ARP wave therapy machine. And he really helped my body turn a corner. And I just feel like, honestly, even though the last year was crazy, I feel like in some ways I've just been getting stronger and stronger in the last year and a half. And then especially here within the last couple of months, really cleaning things up, tightening up the bolts. I feel like I've just been getting even stronger, and it's really wild. And I don't know why I was just saying that. I guess just thinking about like the animal products I'm eating now and thinking about how I never thought I'd be a beef liver person, and how Dan and I talk about this kind of regularly. We're like, how crazy is it that I was like a full-on vegetarian for a long time? I was a vegan for a very short period of time because I felt really just bad when I was a vegan. But I was a vegetarian for a long time and felt pretty good on it. And then I suddenly didn't. And even though I felt pretty good, there were so many things and results that I wasn't getting from being a vegetarian, including improved mental health, which I just feel like so much better just in general in these last couple of years of eating this way. And in the last couple of months, like I've mentioned, especially now with my diet and my supplements like on point, it's just, I felt just really good and clear and so much less foggy and anxious and all of that. And we were just talking about that whole saying, right? Like, what's the definition of insanity? Doing the same thing over and over and expecting a different result. And it's like, I'm doing something totally different now in a lot of ways. Like, not fully. I'm still a big fruit and veggie fan. You guys know that. But I've really just made concerted efforts to do things differently in the last couple of years. And it's felt really good and it's really exciting. My mother-in-law and father-in-law were just in town recently, and she was saying that to me. She's like, it is noticeable how much stronger you are now. Like, kind of crazy. And I'm like, I know, kind of crazy. The way I could just like pick my son up now is such a blessing, such a blessing. So sorry, this whole supplement routine is turning into like a whole other thing. Okay, so remember how I told you guys I was open to different brands and just vitamins in general? I'm just going to be honest. I am taking both of these vitamins, but they weren't I'm not necessarily taking them from a place of like, I did a lot of research and I'm super like, I stand behind both of these 110%. Not really. Like life and health and all of it, I feel like is this combination of like, you want to do your best, but sometimes your best is confined by like time or a budget, and you can't necessarily drop a ton of money on everything. So I already had both of these supplements on hand. So this is what I'm taking for the time being, but I'm definitely open to different versions of them. And I'll explain what I mean. So the first one is vitamin C. I'm still a big vitamin C fan. You guys know I've been like a huge proponent of vitamin C. My sister and I were sick in high school with some unknown thing. And literally after like a year of my sister being sick and me being sick for 8 months, we were able to knock it out through high doses of intravenous vitamin C therapy under a doctor's what's the word? Like it was with a doctor. We weren't just doing our own IV. And then later it was through megadosing of actual like vitamin C supplements. Now, that being said, I have since come to the conclusion, this is the brand Sourdough, which is like an affordable brand, but I've since come to the conclusion that I don't know how I feel about like ascorbic acid and citric acid. And there are other brands that actually make vitamin C's that are sourced just from like from a whole food source. So I believe it's like acerola cherry is where they get their vitamin C from. Like Perfect Supplements is one that's talked about a lot, but I think there are quite a few brands that do that. So once I run out of this, I'm going to be making the switch. And I know some people might be like, you're hurting your body, but I do think that there is this thing of like good, better, best. Also, I will say this vitamin C there's a couple different, like it's got 3 different things on it. So it's ascorbic acid, acerola cherry, and rose hips. And yeah, working for me now. I'm a big vitamin C believer, so there's that. And the next thing, this is a supplement I've actually never taken until finding this whole pro-metabolic space, and that is vitamin E. But I actually already had some vitamin E that I had wanted to use for like skin things, because you know you can poke open vitamin C capsules and use the oil from the inside. So I've started taking this as well. But similar thing, Now and Sourdough I feel like are kind of similar in the sense of like their affordability, but also kind of the type of product. Like it's not necessarily, I don't know, like food sourced and the greatest, but I don't consider their supplements to be junk per se. So I've also been taking this as well. But both of these I am open to all of it. I'm open to suggestions for other brands, other types. Vitamin C, really all of your stores, right, are going to be burned more when you're under stress, and stress can be anything, right? Stress is just excess energy that's demanded from your body, whether that's emotional or physical, like sickness or less sleep or working out too hard, whatever. A lot of people say that vitamin E is like just really protective over your cells. And very interesting because we just acquired wheat berries. So we're going to start grinding our own flour. And I have heard before that most people used to get a lot more vitamin E because back in the day, flour was ground more fresh, and wheat is very high in vitamin E once it's broken open. But the thing is, once it is broken open, you immediately start losing your nutritional content, just like everything else, right? We've all heard that about juicing, or even fruit and vegetables. Once it's picked, it starts losing its nutritional count, or whatever the wording would be. So I'm pretty excited to be grinding our own wheat, but I've heard certain people say, like Sue Beck, you look her up on YouTube, Sue Beck, Bread of Life. She goes around to different churches talking about grinding your own wheat and vitamin E content within wheat. And so I'm very excited to start doing that because I think naturally through our diet, our vitamin E intake is going to go up. So yeah. So another thing that I've been taking is magnesium. Now, I'm showing you like this because you can get magnesium in like a supplement form. I also really love spraying magnesium like an oil spray on the bottom of my feet. And I also like taking Epsom salt baths from time to time. I don't take as many Epsom salt baths as I used to when I lived in Nashville because I had the dream bath in Nashville that had to be left behind. It's a long story. It's a very long, depressing story, and I really wish I had my bathtub, but I don't. So our bathtub here, though, is still nice, but it's just, I came from the best bathtub ever, guys. So magnesium in general is something that I feel like most of us probably don't get enough of in our diet. I know it's in things like avocado. I actually think chocolate has some magnesium in it. But in general, most people don't get enough magnesium. And so that's why I supplement with it. And my friend Maria, shout out to you, Maria, told me about this special concoction that you can basically just make your own magnesium. And supposedly it's super like bioavailable, so your body will absorb it really easily and very cost effective. So this is what I've been trying to do recently. I kind of alternate depending on what the day looks like. So sometimes it's an Epsom salt bath. Sometimes it's just some magnesium spray on the bottom of my feet at night before bed. And sometimes it's a swig of my concoction that I made. And what this basically was is Pellegrino, as you can see. Has to be the plastic Pellegrino or, sparkly water, not glass. And you basically take a scoop, and I'll link the recipe down below in the info box if you want to check it out. But this is magnesium hydroxide. And basically when it mixes with the carbonation, it ends up turning into some other form of magnesium that I can't remember right now that's supposedly, like I said, super bioavailable. So I've been taking that as well. Side note, my friend and fellow YouTuber here on YouTube, that's a weird way to word that, Lee, or Little House on the Mountain, also recently suggested to me a few different things, especially in this season of preparation to try to conceive again. And one of the things that she recommended was starting to re-implement apple cider vinegar daily into my diet, like taking a shot. So I've kind of been doing that lately, mixing it with a little water and a little bit of honey to make it more palatable, because basically our conversation was around the idea of, or her messages to me, we actually didn't even have a conversation around it. She just sent me all her suggestions. Thank you, Lee. Basically, she was just saying like, that sometimes giving all of her thoughts around why I could have possibly been so sick during my last 2 pregnancies. And one of the things that I wasn't doing that she suggested to do in preparation was drinking apple cider vinegar, because it can help with bacteria, potentially like H. pylori in your gut. So it's not really a supplement, but it's something that I'm purposefully doing. So the last 2 things that are also kind of not really supplements. And by the way, I'm like paranoid this whole time that I'm going to be forgetting something, that I'm making like a special supplement section and then I'm going to totally forget things. First off, I have been taking little bits of vitamin D and K2 recently. So I haven't been taking it as consistently, because also it's another thing that's super debated on, but I am taking it occasionally a little bit. And that is a vitamin D3 and K2 supplement. And apparently vitamin D and vitamin K work like synergistically together. And this one is actually from AG. If you guys remember, I did a sponsorship with AG1 like a month ago, a few weeks ago, talking about their greens drink, which it's not just a greens drink, but they also have, this is one of their other products, and it's just a dropper. It's sitting in an organic olive oil and vitamin E like base. And so I'll do a couple of drops of this under my tongue, just kind of when I feel like it, when I'm vibing like I need a little vitamin D and K2 or whatever. What did I just say? Vitamin D3 and K2. So I'll take that occasionally. And then last but not least, this is not a supplement per se, but this is something I have been taking recently. If I ever have any kind of ache or pain, like my period this last month was a little bit more painful than it's been in a while. And I'm convinced it's because when Dan's parents came to town, I was eating all kinds of stuff that I have been like really avoiding and keeping out of my diet. And I was able to reach for these instead of taking like an Advil or Tylenol. And this is from Plain Jane, and it's a full spectrum CBD gel capsule. Each capsule is 25 milligrams. And I really appreciate Plain Jane in general, because they're just a CBD focused company. And so they sell just CBD flower and different CBD products like lotions and, like I said, these capsules, which have been really cool. So Logie was actually watching a show, and he's over the show now. So we're about to possibly go do some painting and or / some bike riding. But yeah, that's pretty much it. I had just wanted to shout these out because I really appreciate CBD pills when they're needed. I actually had something happen the other day. So when I do interviews with people or just anything like super duper exciting, sometimes I get like a little too hyped. and I get a little like fluttery in my heart and like, yeah, we're doing it. And so sometimes I even like taking a CBD pill before just really exciting things where I don't want to get too excited, if that makes sense. So that being said, my friend recently told me about holy basil. And so I'm actually going to be looking into that as well, because apparently that's really good for that. Right behind you. So that is it. We're going to go hang out outside now. Can you say bye, guys?
Bye, guys.
Look in the camera. Oh, there you go.
Bye, guys.
So I'm going to go now, and I will, God willing, see you guys back here soon with another new video. Like I said, feel free to leave requests, questions, suggestions, thoughts, and I really hope I didn't forget anything. And that's it for now. Bye. So yeah, guys, that is it for this video. I hope that you liked it. And if you did, please give it a thumbs up. Also, once again, shout out to my patrons. Thank you guys so much. And I will see you over on Patreon today with a new video. And that's it for now. All right. Bye, guys.